Hello, my friends. This is Paul Drockton and my website, Utah&apos.net, where you can read a little bit more about this. We're going to talk today about Utah's own Dr. Fauci's new powers and also about targeted martial law. This is part one. This is a big bill right now that's already been approved. It's in the Senate, and no doubt in my mind it's going to be on the governor's desk unless we do something about it, and he's going to sign it unless we do something about it. Now, understand what's happened in the United States is this guy right here, who is an unelected official, right? No one voted for him, somehow has become the health czar. Now, what you need to understand is the Constitution forbids a transfer of executive power. In other words, this guy wasn't elected. He doesn't have the power to enforce laws, and he shouldn't be given that power to enforce laws because that belongs to the executive. Now, here in the state of Utah, they're trying to create a department of health that has all of the powers that they've always wanted. And what they're telling the public is that, hey, we're taking away the governor's power to impose quarantines. No, what they've done is they've created an executive department under the governor that's going to take the heat and take the flak. Of course, the governor's going to say, I can't do anything about it. This guy's, he's the health czar, he's a professional, medical professional. Well, look, we all know that's just a bunch of rubbish. So, first of all, this new bill, Senate Bill 195, Emergency Response Amendments, creates the office of an executive director and gives him enforcement powers. Now, not only does this individual have the power to create laws, as I'm going to show you, but also the power to enforce them, which, by the way, not even the governor can do. This guy's going to be more powerful than the governor of the state of Utah and the legislature combined. So, in essence, what they're doing is they're just creating a health czar, a health dictator. And as you can see, he's empowered to issue orders to enforce state laws and rules established by the department. So his department gets to make laws. No. Read the Utah Constitution. The only people in this state that have the power to make laws are the state legislature with the signature of the governor. That's how it works. So the state Senate and the House of Representatives have the power to make laws. They can't delegate that power. They can't call you on the phone and say, hey, Joe, I'm giving you the power to make laws in Utah. They can't do that. And because they can't do that to you, they can't do it with our new health czar either. So again, this is totally unconstitutional, and this is just a runaround your Bill of Rights and your civil rights. And it's no wonder that Spencer Cox came out and said that we're going to go ahead and lift the mandate on April 10th. Well, look what they've got to replace it right here. So, moving on. Now, what are the powers and duties of the department? Well, I just pulled out a few things that I want you to be aware of. Number one, to establish, maintain, and enforce isolation and quarantine. These guys are going to have friggin' police powers. They're going to be able to have their own private police force to enforce isolation and quarantine. And not only that, they're going to have the power to exercise physical control over property. That's your house. That's everything else that you own. And individuals as the department finds necessary. Well, it all sounds well and good, doesn't it? Until you get someone who's a political dissident. And so what they do is they just basically say, hey, you've got COVID, therefore we now have the right to force you into isolation. And by the way, it doesn't say in your home. So you know what? This is opens the door for isolation camps and quarantine camps, right? And also for confiscation of your physical property as the department finds necessary. So if you understand the Constitution, it states that no one can take your property without you exercising your right to due process. And what is that? Well, it states in any conflict where $25 or more is at stake, you have a right to a jury trial, period. You can't give these people power that the Constitution prohibits them from having. The Constitution prohibits the governor and the state legislature from having the power to just take stuff away from you without a court, jury trial. So how can you give something that you don't have to a health star? You can't. Also, they have the power to close theaters, schools, the health star does, close theaters, schools, other public places, and forbid gatherings of people. No. You know, the Constitution, it's in the First Amendment, it says you have the right to peaceably assemble. They've been using COVID to prohibit us from exercising our First Amendment rights, whatever they are. Freedom of speech has been shut down. Freedom of religion? Yeah, right. Good luck going to church. Freedom of the press? They own the press. There's no freedom of the press. I'm the last free press in Utah. They pretty much have taken everything away. And now they're going to create a private police force run through this department. Because if you're going to give him enforcement powers, then you also have to give him some type of police presence to enforce those powers. And because this is a state entity, they're not going to be able to use the local police. They're going to have to create their own police force. Or, I don't know, use the highway patrol. But the point is, they're going to back this stuff up with guns, my friends. So power to close theaters, schools, and other public places and forbid gatherings of people when necessary to protect the public health. Well, who defines that, number one? Number two, you don't have this power. The Constitution doesn't give it to you, period. The Constitution does not say that if there is a virus that kills less than 1% of the population, that you can go ahead and take away everybody's rights. It doesn't say that in the state constitution. It doesn't say that in the federal constitution. They don't have that power. And the only reason why they're able to do it is because of ignorance and because people are just going along with it. And look at this. Establish methods or measures for healthcare providers, public health entities, and healthcare insurers to coordinate among themselves to verify the identity of the individuals. You want to know how they identify the Jews? Through the records. IBM created the cards. Exactly. So here's the point. They're going to be able to go through this, and if you're a political dissenter, so you're someone that doesn't agree with the state, or maybe you want to run for office, they're going to have access to your entire health record. And guess what? Once again, the result of, or should I say, one of the things that can happen if you run for office is you can be quarantined, isolated, and have your property taken from you without a jury trial, right? Now, this is a violation, again, of our right to unreasonable search and seizure. In other words, if you want to get my health record, you've got to have a court order. And that court order has to specifically state what it is you're looking for. You can't just say, hey, I want Paul Drockton's health record. No, you have to state specifically what it is you're looking for. It's right there in the Bill of Rights, my friends. All you got to do is read it. It's all right there. Now here, it gets even more disturbing. The definitions. A carrier means an infected individual or animal who harbors a specific infectious agent in the absence of discernible clinical disease and serves as a potential source of infection for man. What does that say? Potential source. So now we're going to lock people up. We're going to isolate them. We're going to quarantine them. We're going to take away everything they have because they're a potential source of infection. The carrier state may occur in an individual with an infection that is inapparent throughout its course, commonly known as a healthy or asymptomatic carrier. In other words, guess what? You're a carrier when they say you're a carrier. Doesn't matter if you're healthy. Doesn't matter if you don't have these symptoms. Or during the incubation period, convalescence and post-convalescence of an individual with a clinically recognized disease. Guilty until proven innocent. Commonly known as the incubatory carrier or convalescent carrier. Under either circumstance, the carrier state may be of short duration as a temporary transient carrier to long duration. Point is, they decide if you're a carrier based on the potential for infection. You don't have to have it. This is called guilty until proven innocent. Tests like these will determine whether you keep your freedom and property. Understand the FDA has granted emergency use authorization for hundreds of COVID-19 diagnostic tests. This allows makers to market tests without receiving formal FDA approval because there is a public health emergency. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about people being able to market tests without any standards. Make something up, and you can sell it to the public. Because it's novel, coronavirus is indeed novel, and COVID-19 is a new disease, information about available tests is incomplete, and testing options keep changing. Tests vary in terms of accuracy, cost, recommended use for people of various ages, and convenience, right? And this, by the way, was from MIT, by the way. I just want to make sure you know the source here. Blog post reviews features of the major types of tests. For more detailed information on individual tests, check the FDA's list of authorized tests. Now, let me explain one other thing to you. If you've been following this COVID test, they talk about cycling. What is cycling? It's basically running the material through, right, the test multiple times. Cycling. So one of the complaints, of course, is that this current test that they're using, they overcycle it, meaning they run the material through the apparatus multiple times until they get it positive. So the problem with it is that it's had a lot of false positives, and individuals that don't have the COVID, well, guess what? They've been diagnosed with COVID. So we can't even guarantee the accuracy of the test. So if you can't guarantee the accuracy of the test, you're basically telling people that you now have the right in the state of Utah, that your health czar, that your Dr. Fauci now has the right to take away people's lives, property, stuff, indefinitely, by the way, based on what could be a very faulty test. You don't even have to be sick. You don't even have to show symptoms. If they say you have COVID, right, you got COVID. Now, you might not be worried about that, but believe me when I tell you, this is going to be a great excuse for them to not just shut up people that are political dissidents, but also it's going to be a great tool to keep people from running for office. Who wants to go through this as a candidate, right? You go to a presentation, right? And the health czar says, oh, before you continue your campaign, we got to run this COVID test on you, which we've already proven, right? It's already been proven, is flawed. It's overcycled, right? And produces false positives. Number one. Number two is who controls the material that they get from you to do the test? And number three, what's going to stop them from changing the results to be whatever they want them to be? I mean, do you want this kind of power in the hands of your state government? Do you trust the state government of Utah to decide whether or not healthy people can walk around and enjoy their freedom, or whether they should be in a gulag waiting for the day when some bureaucrat's going to say, hey, you can go home now? I'm telling you, my friends, this is big stuff. You know me. I don't talk about anything unless it's important. This is important. You need to do something. Contact your Utah state senator and tell him, no way. No, we're not going to put up with this. Contact your state representative and tell him the same thing. Contact the governor and say, no way. You are the one that's going to shut this down. Remember, as long as you don't oppose it, this is going to become law, and you're going to be living under a medical dictatorship. You're going to have to make that decision for you and for your kids, whether or not it's worth your time. All I can do is share information with you. This is Paul Drockton. God bless. This is my website, utahvoice.net. God bless. Have a great day.